StreamYard stop. Okay, should have sound now.
Oh,
Happens sometimes when I plug something into my computer.
okay, cool.
Let me.
So I think what we can do now is, I mean, what you guys are definitely going to need is a Hugging Face account. Alisher, they're also going to need Grok and use an API key, correct? Or not?
Yeah. So the two main things here that we need is Grok and Grok with a Q and Hugging Face. You could also run this locally, but we're gonna go straight to Hugging Face. It takes 2 seconds, and then it's public, and you can share it with people. And Grok is free, so you won't get a crazy charge.
Why is Grok free, or till what limit? What's the limit with Grok?
They have some sort of like limits on how many messages you can send, right? They have rate limiting, but I think that's about it. That's the biggest thing they limit you on. Let's check out their page. I'm yet to see any sort of pricing anywhere, so they're free for now. There, you go, pricing.
Because I am gonna, this is one of the things that I'm definitely going to implement onto my webpage. But I'm probably just going to do something else so that I'm not limited. I have to see what the limits are and what the possibilities for me are to integrate. It can, yeah, maybe it can also just be, it doesn't matter. It can also just be a normal LLM that I use, because I can use OpenRouter really. Yeah, OpenRouter is perfect. You can use so many models for free, and then you can just give it a system prompt and then make it whichever way you want. But cool. So if you guys want to try this, and Grok is super anyways, right? I mean, it even has voice capabilities, right? You can even talk to your LLMs with Grok, can't you?
So Grok, yeah, it does have voice capabilities and it has vision as of recently.
Oh, vision
It has
too.
the open
Okay,
source Lava model,
cool.
and I think it also supports like an OpenAI proxy as well. And let's see, looks like it has a bunch of integrations here. Um, oh, and it has function calling for Llama 3. That's another new addition. So
Tell
things
us,
like get weather and all that
tell us a
are
little
also there.
bit. Tell us a little bit about function calling. What's function calling?
So function calling is where I guess you can build like a tool or call like an external API within your response. And it also uses this JSON structure. Um, yeah, that's all it is that you can connect your response to like an external API. So I think a lot of these GPT assistants. So if you were ever at Multibot building an assistant, that does a lot of function calling, like calling DALL-E to generate an image, or calling some sort of a weather API to get the weather, get the stock prices. I think if you're even if you're doing something like building a UI, you're doing the artifacts. That's in a way also kind of function calling, because you're calling to bring in these pieces of code. In that case, um, from Shatsia for the most part.
Okay, so you can integrate any kind of API like we did with our mental AI. We had DeepGram integrated, we had 11 Labs integrated, and that's all happening, of course, through function calling. Is that correct? It's an API,
Yes.
say, right?
Yeah.
It's an API call. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
It could be an API call. It could be like a custom piece of code. I know they have like a few native functions that it supports, similar to GPT, like get weather and get stock price. It's something that has existed for a while, but I think has only come to these popular open source models recently. it really mostly been with like GPT.
Okay, awesome. So if you guys want to play with it, right? So the first thing that you're probably going to need to do, just correct me if I'm wrong, Alisha. I just want to test myself and see if I'm good at it, that I don't get fired again, because I got fired last week when you weren't there. So the first thing that we would need to do is clone the space on Hugging Face. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I guess you could do it that way, yeah.
Okay,
But
what's
I
a
was just
better
gonna
way?
do it from I was gonna do it from step one.
Okay, do step one
So
one. Okay, because I got fired again. See, that's how it goes. But Ross just didn't say you're fired, girl. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
he did. Yeah, he did. Ross was on a rampage last week, firing everybody.
He
We were
fired
all
me,
screwed.
Alisher. I got fired, so I have to make up for that. I want him to hire me
Yep.
again.
I'm sure he will.
Okay, so step one is to go to GitHub. Right, that's our step whenever we start most of these projects. As if you found a project on GitHub, let's start with GitHub. This GitHub repo is gonna give you all these steps on how to do it locally, right? So here you can do this locally using Streamlit. You can do this locally using Gradio. We're familiar with Gradio. I think that's something we did earlier. If you guys remember, we were creating the ASCII art, where we were on Hugging Face launching different image generation models and generating images. Let's see what else did we do with Gradio. Let me check my spaces.
I just posted the
Uh,
project. You're way faster than I am, so you already did everything, Alisher. You're just a pro.
yeah, I try to do it in the beginning, and then as we get going, slowly share it out. But yeah, pretty much, we've used Gradio before. We've used it for these little art generators, if you guys remember. Oh no, it's sleeping. These ASCII art generators, and then we also used it for on Zero GPU when we were playing around with that. Their little $9 a month tier. And basically, it's like a Python UI library. Makes it easy to interact with these Python scripts, and that's what this project already does for us, right? Right? It already has. You have two choices, and we're familiar with Gradio, so we'll take a look at that first. And it also breaks down for you how this JSON works, right? So it has this structured prompt with the JSON, tells you how it works, gives you like a little repository that's also based on it. So the first thing we need to do is download this, right? And you can fork this, or you can just download the zip. I didn't fork it because at the end of the day, I'm not really going to connect my GitHub to Hugging Face. All I need is like 2 files from here. So I just downloaded the zip.
Okay, so shall we go through the process of doing that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so do you want me to share my screen and then I just do it and and show it?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you want to repeat the
Yeah, let's do it.
process with you? I mean, if you want to repeat
Let-
it, probably you already did it, right? So maybe I just, go through the process with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think that's a good idea so people can just see what the steps are. And it's
Let's
smart.
do it.
It's smart what you just said with downloading the zip. Of course, you have to have space on your computer. I had issues the last couple of weeks, but I cleaned up. I'm finally back on track. You got to have space, of course. I mean, these files are not that big. It's a zip file, right? But just keep that in mind when you're downloading stuff, especially if you're working with code, with Visual Studio Code, you're working with all these powerful things. I used to use After Effects. I couldn't use it for 3 minutes without my damn computer crashing, right? So if you don't have that much of a strong computer, I'm using my son's old gaming computer that only cost $1,500. You just need to have really a nice, clean environment before you start, just that things don't go wrong. I just want to say that that's always important. That's just the beginners. I don't have a strong computer, so things like to break, and that's very annoying. I don't use a MacBook. I have your desktop, so just keep that in mind. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll just go through the process that you guys see at once. And then we have it recorded on the space, and people or recorded on the live stream, and people can go back anytime and have a look.
Yeah, and you can come join the live stream, Sharon. You can share your screen. Um, and then I'll walk you through it. We'll go step by step. It's actually it's so little steps. We're probably going to be done within like 10 minutes. And then we'll do the other way, which is also pretty easy. But there's actually other options as well. So we're going to use Grok, and the reason Um, we have such a unique use case with X. Okay, perfect. Yeah, the sound is bad. Okay, perfect. So here in Hugging Face, let's go and create a new space. You can just click on your profile and it's plus. Give it a name. You can call it reasoning GPT 1.0 clone. Okay, click on Gradio because that's what we're familiar with. Um, you can keep it blank. You don't. We're gonna upload the files in this situation. Leave it free because it's not gonna do any sort of compute. And yeah, you can create it. Um, yeah, do it private for now. But this one you can actually make public. Oh, it doesn't like point one part. Oh, what else does it like? Oh, yeah, yeah. Or use dashes. Yep, underscore looks like works as well. And the three. One more. You got one more. Reasoning? After reasoning, I think. No, there's still something it doesn't like there. Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay, so here, let's go to files. And you're going to click add file and you're going to click upload. And then we're going to go to our zip, our extracted files. Oh, it says that you extracted it already. Yeah.
No.
Me neither. Let's click click cancel and just open the file manager. Explorer. File Explorer. Yeah. It should be called G1 main. I think I don't know. Go inside the folder and you see that Gradio folder? Go inside of the Gradio folder. And you want to upload these two files. This is what makes the Gradio UI work. You can just select them both, drag them in. and then you got to scroll all the way down and click commit. Yeah, yeah, and because it's inside of the Gradio folder, and I think from our time working with Gradio, that was really the two main files for Python that make the project work. Requirement, which has all the dependencies and packages, and then app, which is the actual code itself. Yeah, yeah, it's very similar to a lot of these Python projects. And it's done. You can go to app, and it's gonna work. API key. No, it, um, we'll do it the other way in a sec. But if you want to test it, you can put in your key. Oh, that's okay. You can delete the key. Oh, you can ask whatever you want. No, you can ask.
Anything I want to know. That's
What the
that's a
question is
wild
typically
question for
fails
me,
on?
Jer.
Ooh, there's many things I'd like to know. But
Exactly, Kirk.
let's
Exactly.
let's put this in the scope of something useful in the space.
Exactly.
Yeah, to see like uh, how can you be more effective with your time during the day?
Well, that's a good one. That is cool. Yeah, and counting the R's. Ooh, ask it how to not react on emotion. Right? Because it's like maybe if this breaks it down in steps, like this could help somebody. Like okay, think grok, think grok when you're in that emotional state. Step one, step two, step three. Sorry, you see the second one? Sorry, Cher. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, wow. Right, right. Right, right.
Let's get the strawberry question because I think uh, there's I guess a difference in thinking, right? When it comes to reasoning versus the regular model,
Right.
which is how it's able to arrive, and that's why that's like the benchmark question is because previously it's something it has gotten wrong. Right, but also the strawberry question. See if it gets it wrong.
How many R's are in the strawberry?
Yeah, I think the main part about that question is that actually for I mean AI got it wrong before many times.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so do you have a prompt there, like a custom prompt, or no? You know what's interesting is I am using GPT-4o inside of Multibot Ultra, and it says that it has two R's. And this is the exact I think the exact same llama as we're using in our prompt. The difference a prompt makes.
Right. It is. There's so many.
No, the podcast thing is probably going to be its own platform.
I'm still seeing the chat, so I don't know if it caught up yet.
It will eventually. The prompt is in the code. Yeah. Well, I guess while we're in a project, let's also launch the other version because there's two. There's Gradio, which we're familiar with, and then there's Streamlit, which we really haven't played around with. And we're pretty much skipping all these steps where we run commands. Hugging Face does all that for us.
Hello.
Hey, RTV.
Hey, what up?
How are you? Hey guys, this is my very 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 good friend from the Cardano blockchain, RTB. He's popping in, I guess, to say hi. It's so good to see you, bud. We've got a live stream at the top where we're teaching people different AI apps and just building with AI. So if you want to see what we're doing, you can see the live stream at the top.
Oh, okay, awesome. Did you hear the interview I had yesterday with PlayFits? Well, not yesterday, but the day before. I think on Tuesday. Yeah, so like the AI that they have, you could just run the prompt and then build like a website and everything. So yeah, no, I like AI. Yeah, let me go ahead.
Yeah, I actually wanted to introduce Playfix to the gentleman who's on stage right now. Alisher and Tech in Schools is in there because these guys are building some amazing things with AI, and I think they could definitely like.
You want me to bring him in? You want me to bring him in here?
I mean, if you want to, you're more than welcome to. We're just building. We're just. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Dockerize, and then go to something like Railway, where you can run a Docker container, and it'll be probably very cheap because all this is just the front end for an API. But good at Hugging Face is they let us do it for free. But you could also get like a public link from Hugging Face as well. So the next one we'll make it public. So Railway makes it very easy to run Docker containers. DigitalOcean does it as well. Vercel just doesn't do Python, right? So you can't really run Python on Vercel. Yeah. Yep. So once you deploy it, a Railway gives you a URL. They Yeah, pretty much. Let's make another one. Let's do the other one because the other one doesn't require the user to put in the key. So if you go to your Hugging Face and you make a new space, and we're going to be super misleading about the title of this new space.
While you're doing that and navigating, is it possible to make the live stream 1080?
I think
Or-
it is 1080.
It's just really blurry, unless that's on purpose, but yeah.
Which are you watching the live stream on X?
Yeah, on my Mac. No, it didn't. I guess so. It's a me problem. Okay.
So X is typically like worse when it comes to quality of streaming. So what I can do is I can put the Twitch link up there, and maybe that will make it better because on Twitch you can actually choose 1080p.
Okay, thanks. I think I remember. I think Ross had like stepped in and did it once while it was live streaming, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I've set it up to where it live streams in 1080p.
Okay, so I guess it
It's
is a
just
me
that
problem.
like the quality on X is noticeably worse, which is when I go to Innovators Think Tank, I I don't use the X live stream. I use the Twitch live stream.
Got you. I think it was like in an afterglow, maybe, or after show kind of thing. So maybe it was in Kirk's that we did that.
Yeah, I don't really know. I guess X limits.
It's a me problem. I think it's definitely a me problem. Okay.
No,
I think I figured
it's
mine out.
probably an X problem at the end
You're
of the
probably
day.
right. Yeah,
I'll
because
put the
there's a
Twitch link
T1
here
coming
too.
through here. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Ross is on his way up.
Hey, I just wanted to say hi. And also, we are streaming 1080 for sure. So there's two ways you could turn it on. In Twitter, there's a gear. It's like
Ross is on his
invisible.
way up.
And you,
Yeah,
hey,
I
I
think
just
it's
wanted
blurrier.
to say hi. And
So-
It's
also, we
blurrier on
are streaming.
X. I'm looking at it right now. It is much blurrier on X than Twitch.
Exactly. Then the second thing I'd say go to Twitch because I'm looking at Twitch on my phone and it's crystal clear. So on the phone, you don't see it, but on X, on a live stream,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a gear, and you could switch to 1080 if it's streaming in 1080. If your phone's, it's a little gear on the bottom of live stream.
Yeah, I see it
Yeah.
on your screen. It's on the other side of the pause. You see where the pause is? The other side of that bar. It's like where it says Sharon AI Wonders live volume, and then right next to volume is the gear.
I did it and I flipped mine and it took a while and I refreshed and then it worked out.
But also 1080 on X is much much worse than 1080 on Twitch for some reason. Oh,
Thank you guys.
Well, we were talking. Ross and I were talking about this the other day, and Twitch is like 4K. Is that right? It's actually even higher resolution than HD. Anyway, that was a discussion we're having. In terms of streaming and quality, it's yeah, you're only going to get HD out of X.
so we're gonna create a new space here. It's also gonna be another free space. You can keep it zoomed in. No, not yet. So new space. Let's call this GPT 1.0. Let's just call it GPT 01. We want to get some clicks on this space. We're gonna use Streamlit in this scenario. Yep. We'll keep it public. Let's create the space. Okay, let's go to our files. You're gonna upload files. And let's go to those files you extracted. Let's go to that folder. Okay. You see there's two files here named app and requirements as well. That's the files that we need. So you're gonna upload those two files. Streamlit is just another UI library for Python, right? It's like alternative to Gradio. It's also pretty popular nowadays. That's it. You can click commit, and all we have to do is just add a variable. So let's wait till it builds. It's gonna give you an error. So let's see. Go to app. There should be an error somewhere there once it's done. I like it because I actually haven't seen something like this on Hugging Face yet. I hope.
Yay!
Okay, so check this out. Simple error, right? It tells you that you don't have the API key in there. So all we got to do is copy where it says grok underscore API underscore key. So it's outside of this white window. It's behind the white window. Leave a little close. You can do that. You see you see there's the red text? It's in that text. So in those first two lines, it has the variable. You want to copy the variable, grok API key. It's in the first two lines. It's the second line. Just grok API key. Yeah. Copy that. Let's go to settings in the top right. And you're going to scroll down to secrets. Keep going. Variables and secrets. You're going to make a new secret. Paste what you copied, the variable name. Okay, and now the value is your grok API key. Try again because it like didn't paste it in. So new secret. Grok underscore API underscore key. You can just look it up. API. Yep, and you can scroll back up. It should be rebuilding. Yep, you can just go to app. It should build now. And this one, it's still restarting. So once it restarts, it'll start working. And this one is the exact same thing, just a different UI library. There you go. Yeah.
Just letting you guys know there's a stream at the top if you want to follow along to see what we're building. I see the Snet crew has been popping in hard tonight. So shout out to the Snet guys. I love those guys. Yo, good to see you, hon. We're just
Yeah,
we're,
I
Yeah, go ahead.
saw on my home screen that you were on this, and I just wanted to come say, "What up, Morgan? What up?"
Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, stick around if you like. We're building some AI stuff and testing, and you can see it in the live stream at the top. It's so good
I
to
love
see you,
it.
hon.
I love it. Go get them.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you can just share the link from the top. Well, Grok, you don't really put your billing or card or anything, right? It just works, and they have a rate limit, so they'll just start rate limiting people anyway. But you can just make it private, or you can go back to one of your previous projects where you have the snippet that makes it password protected and do that. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and you would say something like, pull the password from the secrets and variables in the settings in Hugging Face. So that way you don't expose your password in your code. You have it in your variables in your env. And now you could also check out the prompt. So if you go to files and you go to app.python, app.py, you see the prompt right here. It's from line 29 to line line 42. That's pretty much the prompt. You could try. We can copy that prompt and we could try to put it into premium or multibot, see how it turns out. So it would it, no, it would really be even less than that. You see line 39 where it says after content, it says you're an expert AI assistant. 29, 30, just 30. So yeah, so it's gonna be from there until those three end quotes. So it's from the three quotes until the end of the three quotes. It's in line 39. So it's 30 from 30 to 39. That's really the prompt. Yeah. Do custom, yeah, we could try that. So you gotta do new chat first. And then you're gonna change this where it says you are GPT. Yeah, that's the problem. No, keep that. That's what the important part. That's the JSON structure. It'll make it very similar. And now you can try to ask this system prompt something instead of doing it inside of the Python. Uh, so now the problem here is that it's not using this JSON for anything else, but it's giving you just the JSON response. So what's good about the Python? It has a front end where it plugs this into, right? So in Python, there's space for a title, space for the content, space for the next action. Here, not so much. So it takes that JSON code, right? And then it plugs it into the Python. You don't have that here. That's the part that's missing. So maybe you could use something like artifacts and then have like artifact generate you a table where this JSON can plug into. But right now it's just giving you like a raw JSON output. That's all. Also, maybe try Llama 3.1. $70B. You can just rerun the same question. Yeah. Here it at least plugs in the steps, like the title. Very similar, except you don't see it in JSON in a Python end. You see it as just text. You want to try with artifacts? Let's see what we can do with artifacts, maybe. Oh, you want to do it with those artifacts? Yeah, let's try that. Why not? Oh,
You're
try it out.
taking artifacts away. Oh, okay, okay.
Which is the better one? It's Multibot Ultra. Yeah, that's the major difference. Yeah, you have to turn on your settings. Oh, it is on. Let me also turn it on. Try GPT-4o. Um, it's like the date of when they have been released. Ones that are a little bit closer, yeah, and then there's also latest. Latest is guaranteed to be the latest. Yeah. So, ooh, no, just put it there. We'll try it out. I haven't really tried it. Yeah, let's name it. Oh, it just goes for straight JSON output. I don't think
No, it's not a real hand. I don't have my hand up. It must have been residual. Sorry. I have no hand. I never have. Okay, I'll try, but I don't think I have a hand. I was just playing. I was just playing. I'm sorry. Well, that's maybe a good tip. Okay, I'll have to remember that.
um, let's actually try going to back to multibot and try invoking the artifacts because I don't think it invoked the artifacts. So in the message, um, maybe say give me a UI for this JSON output. Let's try that because I don't think this is an artifacts output.
Could help reduce high emotion.
There you go.
For creating a simple user interface,
You could also
UI,
close the side panel,
based on
by
the
the way.
structure of the provided JSON, we can design a layout that separates each section,
you could
like
do it in
title and
settings.
content, in an easy-to-read
the-
format. Below is a basic HTML structure
Oh, there you
that
go. That works
emulates
too.
how this
Here,
JSON
okay.
might be displayed in a user-friendly interface. I'll provide a
Oh,
React-based
yeah,
UI,
that's in
since
settings.
React is often used for creating dynamic UIs, but you can adjust it to other frameworks
I have
if
that disabled
necessary.
as well.
Here is a simple UI that displays the JSON content.
And now you can see the preview. Let's see what it looks like. Okay. Oh, and I guess whenever you click on each one, it shows you a different description on the bottom. So click on the next one. Yeah. Interesting. Or even just a flow chart. Really, anything that's visible. Anything that's visual. Like, if you understand better reasoning with flowcharts, maybe you can have it build you a flowchart. Build me a flowchart based on this JSON output. Yeah, I think a flowchart is fine. That's actually pretty good. Oh, but what did you copy? Yeah. You can make this window maybe bigger. Like you can go in the middle and maybe make this window with all the. Yeah, you can maybe make that bigger. Well, first let's hide the other sidebar. The left sidebar. Um, you can go to like where the middle is between them two. Between the two windows, and you can drag it out. Yeah, right there. You can zoom in a little bit. Windows Shift S. No, it lets you select. And then you just select whatever. Yeah. And you can control V. Yeah, just paste that. Oh, it's because you have like the snipping tool open, something like that. Try again. It's there too. It's in multibot. It's right above the flowchart. Oh, you talk about like well, I think for the question, like what question do we ask? Or oh yeah, but that's just the prompt. Um, well, that I guess that's what you could do with the JSON. You can turn it into like a flowchart. You can turn it into a website, an artifact. If you don't want to like launch an actual website. That's how you can like take the JSON from your prompt and turn it into like a website or a flowchart. Because yeah, it's just more structure with a JSON. Yeah, it makes sense, but I think it really depends on just the task. I think in this case, JSON is really just the format. I don't think it understands it better. Maybe a different model will understand better. I think that's why the new OpenAI model is probably a different model, most likely. That's fine tuned on like reasoning and going through the steps and being self analytical. Yeah, like maybe we can even use something like we can create a new prompt for like the stock exchange and Perplexity, right? And we can do like a JSON output for like the stock name, stock closing price at the end of the day, and then get that data visualized for like the last week or so. We will do something like that. We can do something with like sonar and the weather. Um, I think we'll need a new prompt first if we wanted to do something like that. So, what's our current prompt? What are we using? We're using the prompt from the app, right? From the Python app. So let's get that prompt and let's edit it to give us the different JSON output structure. Let's just get the prompt first, right? What is the prompt that we're currently using? Let's copy it over. Do you still have a copy? The screenshot? Oh, oh, I actually don't know that. I would like to know that too. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, there you go. That one. You
Yeah,
are an expert
that's your
AI.
clipboard, and you have to turn it on.
You are an expert AI. Okay, so let's copy this. Let's copy this whole thing. Just Control A, Control C, and let's go to your favorite AI assistant.
I was gonna say which one?
If you want to go to like the beta, you could go to the beta with the reasoning and all that. It's up to you. It's whichever one you like the most that will help you the most in terms of making this prompt right now. Sure. You had it right there. Wherever you just wrote before in plus, you had it there as well. In the version of plus where you had the developer right here. Yep. And click new chat. Yep. And say you can go to the default. Go to new developer. And say, well, first say hi. Start with that.
Fine. Ask it how its day was.
Oh, okay. There you go. Now let's say
We're not trying to get
um,
weird here.
no, just say I want to make a prompt for my assistant that will be a stock analyst and that will have a JSON output. And say, here's an example of a prompt. And then paste in what you have. Okay, and then say the JSON output. You can click stop. We can keep typing. Just write it in. Because the JSON output should include stock name, stock closing price, stock opening price, and date. You're gonna end up at generative UI. You're gonna end up at a point where you ask it for like a graph of an analysis, right? Some sort of analysis, and then it'll take your JSON output and put it into like a graph using the artifact. That's eventually where you're gonna end up. You could, yeah, you could kind of like identify.
I don't have a specific JSON builder assistant, but I do request that I get output in JSON format. Well, AI Tutor Plus, you can export any of your chat. Yeah, just yep. They've already built that. Yeah, and all of the stuff they build usually has a JSON output function, including in artifacts. So, well, I mean, it couldn't hurt because like you might be able to create or find novel ways to use JSON, um, especially if you were designing your own interface and doing like Alistair just said with custom interface design. You may want to have a JSON that's a custom JSON for each thematic design or something of that nature. That is like, in other words, a JSON can contain the entire system prompt, including chat, right? So they can contain not only the directions for an agent to act, but chat that gives it context. You could have a stack of these, and each one of these would initiate an agent in a particular swarm. So you could have something that extracts into multibot as a stack, and you could potentially sell that as a business, right? Yeah. So you
Yeah, me
become
too.
building a workflow, what you call an operator, right? We know that from like the Matrix. You have their operator, right? But this is you have a stack, and all these different operators are able to execute functions. Now, if I work out, a workflow with a number of operators that assist somebody to accelerate tasks that they're doing, I could sell that stack as JSON files, and they could deploy that in AI Tutor extremely quickly. You can't really do that currently with OpenAI, Anthropic, or anybody else. They don't make it easy directly, but when you have the AI Tutor interface, yeah, you can do it there very quickly and exchange back and forth with other people. So there's a whole there's a whole commerce market in exchanging and doing business to business work with workflows using JSON file exchange. And that's going to get even more wild with LoRa's. You mix LoRa's and JSON, and then you have the full power of what LLMs currently can do. Well, I mean, it depends. Yeah, I mean, at some level, like system prompts are like functional for this time and period in space and history, right? So, like, what is a system prompt that's really useful right now, very valuable, may not be really, really valuable in 2 years. So, you have to be careful about being like, I'm going to hoard my system prompts. Like if they're marketable, yeah, it can all change. The architecture can change, and the way that we prompt or novel ways of thinking, logic structures. I mean, not everything is universal. Some things will be classical, right? So we have to figure out what is classical, and yeah, and then what is potentially disposable and or time oriented. Those are hard things to figure out. But the cool thing is we actually can use like a reasoning model to evaluate that, figure out, hey, I have the system prompt. It is variable centric. It looks like it could be classical because it has enough variable sets that it can change over time. Or I have a system prompt that has a lot of fixed statements that are related to currently existing models and currently existing functions. And then you try to figure out, and then you can actually, figure out the pricing or value, depending on how much people are doing that thing. Like, are you out cutting cutting the cutting edge, right? Or are you a little bit behind and there's other people already selling into that? Um, yeah, yeah. Just as true. I mean, if you have a prompt that makes prompts, that's probably not the thing that you want to sell, because that's a variable rich prompt, right? Because there's a lot of things that can change. There's a lot of functions that can change, and that's probably going to dynamically evolve over time. But its output is probably not something you would want to hoard. Just that's yeah.
Yeah, let's just keep going with the prompt. Let's just keep going with our question. So let's keep typing. You can just double. We'll add another chat. So let's see where we stop. The JSON output should include stock. Okay. Just double click where it says date right at the end of your previous question. Like right in that text. Just double click somewhere in that box, somewhere in there. Yeah. Okay, like outside of the JSON. Double click, triple click. Okay. Okay, just to edit essentially this what we had. Usually that works. All right, date and put another and a 2-sentence analysis for that day. Okay, period. And let's say the user will ask for a specific stock and a specific period of time. And then say give an analysis and prices for each day within that period. Okay. Then do Shift Enter a few times. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay though. Just restart this question. Like do the restart so it actually runs, or just type in the chat. Go to type in the chat, and then say create a system prompt that gives me a JSON output based on this, and then click chat. JSON output based on this. Yep, and you can click chat. It'll understand, hopefully. And another reason I haven't really used the new model is because it's kind of slow. Yeah. Yeah, but also like it didn't really understand what we wanted, right? Because the JSON structure gives you is still title, content, action, instead of date, analysis, price. No, let's just copy our prompt, our question, or let's just switch the model. Switch the model to Claude, for example.
Do you ever think we're going to be able to Grokko one? Like use, yeah, I think that's what it's saying. You know, just run the one model on Grok. I mean, I know you have to API into it right now, but just the thought. Yeah, I'm just saying that you know, the speed issue. Yeah.
Um, yeah, kind of. It'll be a lot more reserved, the self-moderator one. I usually go for normal. Um, what do we ask before? Let's go back to the previous conversation. You can just change the model. You can just change the model in the previous conversation and rerun your question. Well, the model didn't understand. You can just scroll up and click restart. Yeah, but that's gonna be like the emoji face. Yeah. I know. Kind of. There you go. The new one. Oh, one.
You're okay.
So scroll up. No, keep going up. Okay, right there where it says we can just copy from you are an AI stock. You're an expert. Yeah, let's copy that, and then down to the bottom. Is it this way? Okay. Instead of doing it this way, are you able to edit this text, this box of text, or now? Or click on where it says Claude 3 Sonnet, the brain. Yeah. Well, what are your options there? Copy. Yeah, copy. And let's go and make that our prompt in Multibot. Start a new conversation first. We'll use GPT-4o. It's the one that works best with artifacts. And let's add a system prompt to this. You know how you add the system prompt usually? Yeah. Custom instructions. Perfect. Yeah, just scroll up, and I think there's one thing we got to delete at the top. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. 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 This is looking relatively good. Let's just call it like stock AI. Simple. Okay. Well, let's save it as a preset. Um, okay. Well, you don't really have to save it as a preset, but if you want to, save it and not lose it, you would. So let's say give me information on the Apple's. Well, okay. Let's try something different. Let's try a different model, right? We want a model that's live. So let's try. Let's go to Open Router and let's look for perplexity. Yeah, Sonar. It should be the Llama 3.1 online. Yeah. Okay. Now, do you have the same prompt in here or no? Probably not. Yeah, you probably have to send it again. Click on the settings so we can set the system prompt. Yeah, but you could always like change the preset. You can edit the preset and change the model too. You can even, yeah, you can leave it blank too. Stock Goat Online. Okay, now let's try. Let's ask it. Um, give me analysis of Apple stock for the last 7 days. Yeah, it's our prompt is. we- I think we got to take a look at our prompt a little bit because the output that it's giving us isn't really what we want. Oh, there you go. It has the final answer, and yeah, it didn't really provide us with the actual numbers. Oh, there you go. Starts to somehow come in somewhere. Okay, let's say give me a flow chart and a graph for the JSON output, or build a flow chart and a graph for a JSON output. I'm not sure which one will trigger artifacts. Yeah, yeah, it's not really triggering. I, I just think Sonar's probably doesn't really support it. I don't, I mean, you'll be able to change it, but I think the prompt will, yeah, will not be there. I mean, we could try going back and trying GPT 4 just for like the proof of concept. And then adding like a plugin somewhere in there as well. We want to make it a little bit more complex. So let's click new chat while we're here. Yeah. Where's the presets? What are the presets that you have? It's right next to it. It's the button right next to it. Right next to settings. Yeah. Stock goat. Yep. And let's say give me stock Apple stock price for Christmas week of 2023. Okay, so this is actually a little bit better. It giving you JSON output. Looks like. Okay. Now let's say build a graph for the JSON output. Yeah. Let's see what really triggers it. What words did we use last time that actually triggered it for managing emotional reaction? What was our question there? Yeah, let's try that. But instead of build me a flowchart, we'll do build me a graph. So you can copy it. There's a copy button right underneath. And we'll try that. Build me a graph. Yeah. Hmm. It it just doesn't want to build a graph for some reason. Oh, that's a good way. Yeah. The JSON output. Um.
Another fun way to prompt it is I am trying to create a graph of some JSON data. What would be the best way to make that request? Sometimes it works. Base, yeah. Right. Make that request. And then the model might actually tell you.
Typically, if you say build or create, it usually happens. Also, maybe check your settings. Maybe it got disabled. No, it's fine.
Dude, I'm dealing with 3 wacko kittens right now because I was. Oh, He loves you. He wants attention.
Um, maybe okay. Maybe do build me a graph. Build me a graph for Apple stock Christmas 2023. Week of Apple stock for the week for the week for the week of Christmas 2023. Because I mean, you wanted to give like a fewest days as possible. Because I actually just tried build me a graph for Apple stock. I tried this exact prompt. It actually did start artifacts for me. Oh yeah, we can start with that. Yeah, it just looks like it's still. I think our prompt is too strong. Our JSON prompt. Maybe, maybe.
So what that means when he says it's too strong, it means that there are things that are not variables; they're fixed states. Yeah.
If any of the JSON data ones, like this one, for example. Oh yeah, you could say first make sure you don't have a preset selected, so it doesn't mess with it. Okay, perfect. And then you could say build me a graph for this data. And then just paste, yeah. Um, uh, bar graph. Yeah, it still doesn't want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Nice. Yeah, I guess you would really just like fine tune the prompt to be a little more straightforward. Like, like for example, this still doesn't like the output that it gave you for JSON still really isn't what we're asking for. Like, I think with each date we were also asking for an analysis. Um, but good proof of concept. Yeah, and maybe you could do something with a prompt where you don't have to say build every time. Instead, it just does it for you. You would pretty much just like go to the prompt that we have and try to be a lot more specific with it. Like for one part, you would say, "Give me the JSON output that looks like this," then give it the JSON structure. And then for the other part, you would say, "Based on this JSON, build a whatever you need to build." Because then it would need to be kind of dynamic as well. Because you won't always ask for a bar chart. You might ask for some sort of like a a time series or something like that.
How would it do like prepare this information for an infographic? Yeah.
Well, you would need it to also create a JSON. Yeah.
Right? Tell it, Sharon. Daisy D Arch down there giving you the O face.
I got to a point where I was actually fighting with ChatGPT over the word verbatim. It was like, I don't want to do verbatim. I hate verbatim. You know, like it just literally, you know. And then you're like, please, I'm requesting. I am paying you. You need to put this in verbatim. It was really
Okay,
bad.
fine. Why isn't there a channel yet for funny AI conversations? Oh, I'm sure even if you did just two or put it out on Twitter and ask people, I'm sure they would submit theirs. That would be hilarious. I like what I like what Kirk said. He goes, "I pay you." Wow, really? Even after 200? Holy shit.
What did you use? But what model? Try Gemini, the one that's 2 million, and feed it like upwards of like 1.5 million context. And then it'll probably be a little more accurate. Well, it's also, I noticed that if, whether you want it or not, it's also very formal. You can train it all you want and try to be raunchy and funny. It still just won't be, like human funny. Um,
I don't know. Ross's knows banger. I feel like when Ross says banger, it I've seen him say give me a banger or something, and it's done a good job. I mean,
I can build system prompts that'll give you a persona that'll do that kind of stuff if it's really necessary. I mean, I've done it. To sound like you, I mean, yeah, we could build something like that. But I mean, there's also NVIDIA just was talking about making GPT LoRa's with RAG. So there might be a way to do that. Maybe worth experimenting with. Yeah, basically. Yeah. In effect, it'll. So.
feed it some transcripts of you speaking.
I don't know. I have like 84,000 posts somewhere on this platform, and then I have out of those probably 10,000 of those are expository writings, and some of them range in up to 2 or 3 pages. So in theory, I have the stuff I need to build something like that, and I have written articles too. I've written at least like a few 10 or 15 like full on articles for a magazine, plus publication, whatever. Yeah. So
This makes me think of like whenever writers, in the industry, they write like episode descriptions. So if you guys are ever on like a TV show and you read a description of an episode, typically if it's like a show with some basic writers who just try to get from point A to point B, it'll be a very straightforward description versus I guess versus a show that's made a little bit more with love, where the description will attempt to be some sort of stylized towards the style of the show. I think Rick and Morty, they have some funny episode descriptions whenever I just like switch through HBO. Versus, some description where this and this happens to some character. That's about it.
Did you guys see the South Park ones that were made all by AI? They were
Oh
pretty.
yeah,
They were pretty good. They were really good. I mean, I thought they were.
yeah, the whole South Park episode where it's supposedly fully made by AI.
Yeah, yeah. Super interesting. Ask us stupid.
That sounds like an article that is actually in one of those teen magazines.
Right? Like Cosmo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All the things that you're not supposed to talk about. Yes. Right, we should make an AI version of that. What does AI think about? And then like all of the same things. It's a new version of the same thing.
I don't know if I want to know what AI thinks about sex. That bad. Animal? What is that? Stupid. I don't think I know that one though. What is it? Mushi? Yeah, I'll have to watch your live stream on it.
But I mean, here, this is a question of ethics. Okay, so is it ethical to put an agent online that is acting like a person who is in a like a clinically mental state, like either highly depressed or highly excited, like manias, like I mean, yeah.
What the fuck? Girlfriend? Everything.
You'd be like, what are your grades? How are you how are you actually performing in this thing is like, I understand you plan ahead, but I don't think it's possible with the number of hours that you're operating to be able to execute at the levels that are required. Those are kinds of things you could really play the college counselor. Yeah, it's some of these models, then they fall apart. Yeah, but I mean, it's just like, but the question is like interacting with that level of, like, if every day you're interacting with that kind of stuff actually changes the way you think, which is unhealthy. Well, I mean, all that stuff's going to be running around. It's just FYI. I mean, that's we as civilized human beings have to give the contextual warning that these things exist and that they are not necessarily always the best for you. I mean, if you want to do analysis and research, if you're a psychologist and you need to do some patient simulation, then maybe there's something useful in there. But yeah, but if it's outside of that scope, there's a risk that you could be doing damage to your own psyche, and you need to understand that because the same thing applies to a clinical psychologist or therapist. After exposure to patients for a certain number of hours, they're actually required to go to have their own evaluation. They're actually required to take a break too, and you gotta. That's actually a thing to consider. So we're gonna have to learn to be more protective of how we think when dealing with agents that are not anchored effectively. Yeah, but there's going to be a whole universe of that, and then you think, like think about the salesman bots, and then like the sign spinner bots, and like come over here, like get in my van kind of bots. Like that's the kind of stuff that's going to that's going to exist. And if you think you're like impermeable, like the first time you're like no, and then it comes back with you with a different persona, a different persuasive tactic, and a different thing because it just profiled you from your first interaction or based on the tonality of your speech. Like this, we're talking about highly reactive and dynamic systems. That's coming.
Right? Because it's like, why else, right?
You get better conditional information based on how people react to extreme situations than you do to a standard situation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Rorschach tests. Yeah, and then in like 3 years, like Midjourney comes out with Midjourney's been partnered with this psychological research organization, and we put together this statistical study, and this is what we found. You know what I mean? And they don't disclose, like they're not required lawfully to disclose that. Like what? What experimental component is there of any activity that you're doing? You know, and what are these companies doing with any of that? So that's it's something to keep in mind. You know, going into this future environment. I always am suspicious when the new term agreements come out. Like, what is going on? There's new terms. What happened? Oh no. So, am I losing some part of myself, or am I gaining some for more privacy? I'm always hoping for more privacy. Like, just always crossing my fingers. But yeah, data monetization, open and transparency, organizational architecture, all that kind of stuff. That's going to have to be the future, and you know, for people to be able to have confidence. Um, it's going to get complicated, certainly, especially with you know, agents working on people's behalf, conversing agents that, for all intents and purposes, interact as well as any person you talk to. They're not a person, it's still a simulation, but it's just it's how you're doing business, sort of like telephone banking, but going well beyond that. With X having payment processing, I think that's also going to be a factor. And now it's like pretty much almost every website I go to now has a chat, some sort of chat on it. Like the little bubble pops up, almost every website now. So yeah, and that didn't take long. It took a lot longer for other things, you know, in internet history to be picked up.
I
You
saw
know,
a tweet not too long ago where they accidentally sort of showed like the header, and it was putting people in like sim clusters. So if like somebody like replied to a certain thing, it just sort of clustered you. It had like a number, and the number went to, let's just say, a government kind of agency. It was sort of
Huh.
weird. They shut that quick.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Yeah, and then I got freaked out because I was just like, well, what's this number? I just started looking and I went, oh, Vicky, don't do that. Oh, that's my name. And then I went,
I
oh
mean,
crap.
eventually they're going to have social security planning agents, right? You can get on to your social security and then you talk to your social security planning agent. They'll ask you your
Oh
age
yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, do you want how much information do you really want government to actually have? I mean, isn't minimal information better, giving you better flexibility over time? You give it enough information, it's going to lock you into a condition, and that may be a very unpleasant state.
Oh sure. Yes.
Well, it becomes like a system prompt, right? If when we create a system prompt that has too much strength, then we don't have the ability to change it dynamically to what we need. And I think this is going to be, I think this is going to be an ongoing issue across industries, from banking to government to whatever it is, because when you're working with something over a period of time, it's creating a system prompt, and its variables have to be flexible enough for you to do conditionally what you out, I'm guessing. I don't I just see this as potential risk. Yeah, there's enough spaces recorded for me to create a profile. Matter of fact, Grok could act as me at this point in time in history very
And it has
easily.
your voice
It has my
too. I mean, it
voice.
has your voice.
It has enough, history and everything. So that's why I get. It's a little bit concerning when governments like, well, I'm going to say when I say the specific agencies, the SEC and some other bodies saying that they want to have access to all social media data. What does that really mean, and what does that mean for my privacy? How much do like I was never compensated for that, and sure, I signed an agreement. It's an end user agreement, but that end user agreement was not a contract for services or employment. So, what scale or scope of use of content do they really have within the nature of your persona, what they haven't really compensated you for, right?
Oh yeah.
So,
And
there,
I think
because
that
there's
whole
like,
UBI.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right. It's some threshold. If something is based off of you, then you should deserve levels of royalties off of that. But
Yeah.
that's like a next
Internet Bill
generation
of
thing.
Rights.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's more
Internet
like
Bill of
just
Rights.
taking our Bill of Rights and putting it on the internet. Like we don't need a new Bill of Rights. We just need
Well, that's
clearly
true.
like the Bill of Rights. It applies. Like that's it.
Well, they've been selling this data forever, like your car data, your where you've gone. I mean, your passport. I mean, all that's been tracked forever, and so they're just going to go, oh, here's your data income, whatever they're going to call it. We've been gathering it anyway, so here you go. Here's a little thing.
Yeah, but they're gonna
Here's
have to
some
track.
money.
They're gonna have to track that and find out what that value is and send you a report because
Yeah.
in theory that's an unrealized gain if they're gonna start taxing on that.
Oh God.
That may stop some of that stuff, the speculation on things if they end up pushing that through. It could be an unintended impact.
And
When
that's your
you,
universal ID. That's they'll push you there, right?
yeah, yeah, that's but I'm not saying like there's some really good way that governance could be helpful, but there's some ways that the governance could be a major hindrance, and that's where you got to figure out what the proper balance is. In terms of regulatory activity and security and processing of information standardization. See, like this thing what I was talking about with JSONs, like and the team at AI Tutor and Pixio are becoming like they're already masters at doing this. Like they have integrated it as a function. Other companies are not doing that. It should be a standard. The JSON should be a exchange standard across every single platform, every service. Like oh, bring your JSONs here. But it doesn't exist yet. You know, um, you still when you want to get anything from ChatGPT, you have to order your entire archive, everything all at once. Same thing for X. If you want your data, you got to pull it all. You got to gigs upon gigs. And Google's the same way. So having the ability to pull things as you need them, or as a volume, and then it keeps also having things working locally. I mean that should be a standard.
Well, yeah, well, even from your
Yeah.
darn phone. I mean, they're just taking what a picture of you every half a second or every second or whatever the thing is. I mean, my gosh. So they know exactly what mood you are, what you look like, what time you woke up. I mean, geez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not supposed to be using your camera on your phone without having your consent and or um, having an icon that shows you that your camera is active. Same thing for your microphone.
Didn't didn't someone just say that they were going to be, that was they're in the classroom, sort of look at if, the kid is frustrated or not frustrated or,
Well, no, that was Ross was talking about an emotional responsive agent.
response.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's consent that's going to be associated with, engaging in an
Oh, yeah,
interaction,
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
right? You're going to know that camera's on and that you're interacting and that it's watching your interaction with it and then responding to you as you interact with it dynamically. Like those, but again, all of that, requires, the parents to consent to the use of that technology and or, in the classroom, the teachers, and then understanding the foundational limits of what can be done with that and the impacts it has on the child. So I mean, you're always looking for a positive impact in the end, and you certainly don't want to build an agent that's like making children frustrated or cry. So there you go.
They're just grabbing so much. I mean, the smart meters, they know how many times you took a shower, if you got on the freeway. I mean, there's just so much information. It's just really sort of frightening if you think about it.
It's only frightening if it's in the power or the hands of the wrong people. It's if all that information is facilitating you to live the best life that you can live, and that is done within the security and privacy and exchange which you consent to, that's a different world. But we have to lobby that world. Like this is a painful thing. Like you have to ask permission for that world to be created.
Well, I think
Yeah.
there's a better way.
Yeah,
You just
go ahead.
don't let that affect you in a way that you have the awareness and the level of consciousness that just can't do anything to you, because the only power that you have at the end of the day is, power over yourself, right? So these things don't have to affect you. You just have to know how, right? That's basically it. I mean, if you look at what was that movie with Will Smith? The State, Enemy. What was that
Enemy
movie?
of the state. Yeah.
Enemy of the State. I mean, that's something you can't do anything about, right? I mean, if they profile you in a certain way or trick you into something, I mean, what are you going to do about that? But when ads are shown to you, that you just understand what's happening, that you're not a slave to that and being controlled on that, on that level. Of course, the Will Smith thing, you can't do nothing about that, but everything else you have power over. So
Well, the aggregated information from your conversations and or your sleep patterns and or how frequently you go to the bathroom and what kind of food you eat, those things, there should be some privacy and security in them.
that's true. You're right. But let's say we couldn't do anything about that and they would still profile you in some way. Well, who cares? Okay. They know how often I take a poop. Okay. You think I care? What can they do with it? What can they do to harm me? I'm not saying that this is a good thing that they have that data, but let's say we have no chance. What are they going to do with that data? How can they affect us?
I don't even want to articulate all the ways, but I can tell you there are millions of ways to do all kinds of terrible, horrible things, and I can
Okay.
imagine every single one of them and make terrible, horrible,
It's
scary
like,
movies about them. But I'm not going to do
yeah.
that.
I
And I'm
don't
also
think,
not going to give the
what
bad
can they,
guys the ideas about what they can do with various types of data.
they already
But
know, Kirk. If they already know.
I
They
don't
already,
think I
Sort of
know.
like,
Actually, you'd be surprised that
but they know. If you know it, they do it too.
well,
it's
they
almost like
actually do hang
saying,
out and listen to us and try to find things. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying the Will Smith thing, I don't think we can do anything about that, right? But how can they, what are they going to do? How can they take over our brain to make us do certain things? That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, but take over your
oh, they
brain
can
and
do
stuff.
that.
It's just a matter of understanding your responsibility to be under self-aware, under self-control.
Yeah,
Like you just
exactly.
have to,
Yeah.
and that's the same. It's applied since the beginning of time. If you put
Yeah.
yourself in an environment where you're surrounded by people that are adversarial, then you have to be aware of what you are, who you is, and how you're going to move through that environment. Because the
I think
adversarial nature
over
is, yeah.
80% of the population has been brainwashed in
Well, it's
some
their fault,
capacity.
right? I've been brainwashed myself, but isn't it their, at the end of the day, it's our fault, right? Because
Yeah.
we're not doing anything about it. We're still paying our taxes and doing all the things that we actually shouldn't be doing, right?
And you can even
People are still
brainwash
fighting.
yourself too.
Yeah, of course. And people are still fighting over, oh, shall we vote for Kamala? Shall we vote for Trump? Why don't we do something completely different? Right? I mean, why don't we take over the way it used to be in this country? It's not the way things are going. This two-party system is not okay. It's just not okay. And we're so limited to, we can only vote left or right. What if we want to vote middle? What about that? But everybody's allowing it to happen. No one is really standing up. They would rather fight their neighbor instead of getting together with their neighbor and doing something about the problems that we have. And that is, of course, it's a brainwash. You're right, Rutro. We've been brainwashed to be that way. If you look at Requiem for American Dream from Chomsky, he explains that all, how we have been brainwashed over centuries, I don't even know how far.
It's all lies, I tell you.
If you guys think about who's the cool comedian, oh man, that died, George, what is his name?
Carlin.
Yes.
Yeah, but
He says it all. He says
we
it
could offer
all.
a service on the What the LLM website. It's like your daily brainwash, and you go on there and you ask for a script, and you got your NLP, and then it plays some pretty music, and literally you get to brainwash yourself every single day, like into the new thing that you want to feel happy about or unhappy about. Who knows? Like, this
Yeah,
is
but
where technology's
happy or
going.
unhappy, it's both a brainwash. You need to be in the middle, right? Because happy is just, it's nothing really much different than being sad. It's just the other side of the scale, right? You should be able to be in the middle of that. Of course, you can be happy, you can be sad. There are moments for that. That's normal. That's a human emotion, right? But it's just that we're stuck in this. It's either happy or sad. You can't just be normal. Oh, what's wrong with you? You're not smiling. Do I have to smile all day? No, I don't. You know what I mean? It's just, those are things that come and they go. But the problem is that society holds on to that. That's why they're all looking for happiness. It's super strange, but we've been brainwashed. Look at the junk food we're eating every day. It's not even food, but we're eating it because we've been taught that that's okay to eat that stuff. It's a huge problem. Where do we start, right? To unbrainwash ourselves. It's really not easy, but it's normal. It's not normal to pay taxes in the way I'm paying taxes in California. They're ripping me off. I'm a slave to the society. I don't get to make a decision what my money is invested in. They make you believe that you have a decision, but you don't. There's absolutely no transparency. What happens with our tax dollars? Newsom can do what the heck he wants, right? Look at the politicians. Nobody cares. How can a Nancy Pelosi be in office that long and be a multimillionaire? How does that work? What do they make? $250,000 a year? How does that work? How can they have so much money? We know why.
But that's where this technology goes, and that's where having these systems end up. The amount of compute available means that a cipher system is likely to emerge that actually functionally does the job, and transparency starts to occur because there's no way to continue to hide and obfuscate, because a lot of the structures are based upon obfuscation and the ability to hide something and create differential systems. Like, one set of people gets this and the other set of people gets this, and one doesn't know what the other's getting, and that's likely to change. Well, I mean, it has to change functionally. You want to create a Kardashev level, 3 society and be multiplanetary. You can't play the games of ancient feudal society.
We'll see how that
There's
goes.
no choice.
If we don't do anything about it, right? I mean,
Well, I don't
everybody's
think
saying,
I don't think AI is going to let us not do anything about it because AI,
Okay.
the tools are going to say, you are being financially screwed over right now. You should move to this state. And then the next thing after that, your personal AI is like, you need to contact your legislature because I see that here is a bill to propose. Like this, I mean,
Yeah, but it
AI
doesn't happen all
systems.
alone. It's not going to happen on we
It's
have to
not,
make
but
sure
it's
that we have to make
it's
that
to build it.
happen, you know? So it's
Yeah.
again, it's in our hands, right? And then we have to
Yeah.
ensure that they do not capture all of this power, that we don't get our hands on it, right?
Well, we've already
You
got our
know,
hands on
laws.
it. Yeah.
That's true. That's
And we're hanging
true.
out with lots of people who are working on all this privately. We're talking to people who are building, models from scratch, like in their garage. Like, you know what I mean? The billionaire said it was impossible. You have to have a super. No, you don't. They don't have to have the supercluster. They're building models from scratch. You can talk to Scoble about it, and they're like, yeah, lots of people doing that. So it's innovation.
All the while they're destroying all our history and taking things off the internet too. So it's like, yeah,
Right, but then you have people
rewriting
like
history.
Brian Rommel who are saving all of history, and you have people like my relatives and family who've also been saving history, and I know lots of other people that archive history in all kinds of different ways, and the concept of universal totalitarian centralized whatever is silly. Not in an age of decentralized compute. That's never going to happen. Every time they keep talking about it, and I hear Sam Altman or Microsoft or whoever talking about their super centralized or who is it, the guy who's goes to the WEF often, Harari, is that his name? Anyway, he talks about it a lot, like everything being central, and that's just not likely how this evolves because
Oh, the weird
yeah.
dude, the bald-headed dude. Oh, yeah, I know who you're looking.
Yep.
Harari.
Yeah, that's right. So this the opportunities are going to increase, and the innovation is going to be all over the place. That's what disruptive innovation is about. I think those are all things that are necessary to get to a place where things actually become predictable. Because it will be in my impression, like they're saying, well, everything centralized makes things predictable. I don't think it does. I think that you end up with an extremely myopic system that cannot predict unpredictable, like hard to predict events. That's what happens when you centralize something and create a monolithic structure. That's actually proven out through history. But again, we have to have these arguments. Here we are, 21st century. We have to have the same arguments again to prove out the logic of what distributed decentralized means. Even though we have 50 states with 50 legislatures, right? That's a distributed decentralized system. They decided to they didn't just say, okay, we're going to have Washington D.C. and that's it, and everybody's going to hopefully work out okay. No, we created a system that has enough dynamic ability to respond to everybody's needs, and then it's localized, and it actually is fractionalized. That's what already exists in government architecture. So this isn't going to be mirrored in internet architecture. Yeah, it is. It already is, and it's gonna the beauty of it is that it can be better. And so this is why we learn about building with open source and understanding what a reasoning model is, and hunting down and looking for those gets, and doing your best to make whatever you can available on Git to help the community, because you are helping the future you by making these resources available. That's for sure.
Yep, that's true. Yep. That's why open source is it's so important. It is. I mean, think about it. Without open source, all these big companies wouldn't be where they are also. to be honest.
But aren't they just poaching? I mean, the open source, but then they just sort of, the big ones just take and then squash. I don't know. I mean, unless we could just be really fast. I don't know. Just
They're giving us
I don't know.
they're giving us the ability to dynamically, if we comprehend what it is that they're doing and what they're offering us in open source, and can comprehend the scope, to give us the opportunity to compete with them on the same level. But if we're always in a condition of not, understanding, then yeah,